All right, so we are going to get started. So we have an amazing keynote session today with the amazing team at Contiki. We have Erin Vaughn and Kelly Stahl here, and they are going to give us a little talk on the importance of traveling sustainably and how Contiki, as a modern tour company, is really leading the charge in that effort. As you guys know by now, hopefully, my name is Christina Kuntz, and I'm going to be moderating today's session. So don't forget to say hello in that chat box and drop in any questions that you have for Erin and Kelly to answer at the end of their presentation. Before I give them the screen, I do have an awesome sponsor video to share from our sponsor, Latam Airlines, that is super fitting for today's session topic. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now.
Today, we are taking off towards one of the most ambitious destinations in recent times. A necessary destination. It is necessary for the planet. It is necessary for our region's ecosystems and communities. It is necessary because it is urgent, and we want to be part of the solution. For this reason, today, we embrace sustainability as our greatest challenge. We are reinforcing and transforming the work that we have been doing for some time by making a commitment today with South America and the world to eliminate single-use plastics and become a zero-waste airline group, to protect our continent's natural wealth and develop the necessary technologies to become carbon neutral. Thus, our Solidarity plane will continue flying stronger than ever, transporting support to all corners of the planet. And we do it humbly because we believe in being a real contribution for the people who work and fly with us, and for those who trust us to take their ideas, projects, and businesses further and in a sustainable way. Also, to provide for thousands of dreams of tomorrow to reach their destination. Today, we decided not only to move around the world, but also to move with the world. Because taking action is our responsibility, and the time to do it is right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning into that. And now I'm going to give Erin and Kelly the floor.
All right, let me get this up running. Are we good? Can we see?
Looks great.
Looks great. Awesome. All right, take it away, Kelly.
Sounds great. Thanks, Erin. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Now, before we get started, we have a quick question for everyone, and you can type your answer in the comment box or even just think about what the answer would be. But think about what percentage of your business is made up of Millennial and Gen Z travelers. So what percentage of your business is made up of Millennial and Gen Z travelers? And we'll get to why this is important to know, because today we're covering a topic that is very important to this audience. So let's go ahead and dive into the topic at hand, which is Contiki and a sustainable future. We're going to talk more about this and what it means in a moment, but first, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Kelly Stahl. I am a sales manager for the Travel Corporation and Contiki, based in St. Pete, Florida. I've been with Contiki and the Travel Corporation for 4 years. And fun fact about me is that I'm a karaoke legend. So any city that I visit, I will sniff out the nearest karaoke bar. I always know how to find them. But enough about me. Let's meet my co-host, Erin. Hey, Erin.
Hey, Kelly, and she is not lying. I have seen it firsthand. Kelly is a karaoke queen. I'm Erin Vaughn. I am the district sales manager that covers North and South Carolina and Georgia. I have also been with the Travel Corporation and Contiki for a little over 4 years now. And my fun fact is that I am actually a published author. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I won a poetry contest in elementary school, and they published my poem in the National Book of Poetry. But that's one little fun fact about me. So to move into our topic for the day, we want to talk about what to expect, because we think it's important to sort of lay it all out on the table so you know what's coming in this presentation. So today we are going to talk about some research and survey results from some surveys that we did about the Gen Z and millennial generations in regards to travel and sustainability. We'll also talk about what we've learned and done as a brand to support the trends that have been identified by these audiences. And lastly, we're going to take a look at what we all need to do to create a better future. So before we go into what our voice of the generation content is, or that survey that I was talking about, we want to share a case study with you that was done on our parent company, the Travel Corporation and Contiki, by Harvard and the World Travel and Tourism Council. So the study was done looking at our business as well as Intrepid Travels, which is a B Corp, a B Corp company. So for those of you that don't know what that means, it means they are a certified business that meets the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability, and to balance profit and purpose. So B Lab, a nonprofit organization, verified all of this through a very rigorous application process.
That's right. And while Contiki incorporated sustainability through efforts that we're going to cover off in depth shortly, and also being associated with our nonprofit organization, the Tread Right Foundation, the case study showed that although the way our companies support sustainability are different, they're both extremely impactful and making the right changes to have a more sustainable and planet-friendly future. I wanted to share this before going further, as it gives you the idea of the important role that our company and other travel businesses are taking on to ensure that we are traveling sustainably today and every day. Now let's talk about that Voice of a Generation survey that Erin had just mentioned. This was a travel survey that we conducted with approximately 1,500 global Gen Z and millennial travelers. The survey contained questions regarding travel intent, top destinations, domestic travel, barriers, group touring, but our highlight focus for today is sustainability. Here's the makeup of who took the survey. So if you look at the stats, you can see it skews a bit more female. The majority of those who took the survey are in the 25 to 35-year-old age range as well.
And here's what this audience said they were looking for. So through those survey results, we see some of the larger words here, which are the ones that were used the most often in this survey. So as you look, the things that really pop out are things like sustainability, people, conscious, and travel. So we know that those are the things that these demographics are telling us are really important to them through travel. So as you can see, sort of the main bubble here is that sustainable travel truly matters.
And millennials are facing an ethical dilemma. On one hand, they express a desire to travel more than previous generations have. At the same time, though, they're also more passionate about the environment. Those two things don't always go well together. In fact, flying comes under increased scrutiny for its carbon footprint. And once unspoiled places grow more crowded, many young adults find themselves struggling to balance two of their most cherished passions. So, how does one travel and overcome these challenges or concerns?
Well, 60% of our respondents said that one of their main concerns when traveling and thinking about traveling sustainably is offsetting that carbon through flight and travel, right? So what can we do as a business to help overcome these challenges? Well, let's talk about some of the efforts that we've made as a brand to offset carbon. One of the first things we did was in our 16th century French chateau in the Beaujolais region of France. We went into eliminating food waste and finding new ways of renewable energy by completely revamping the chateau. Now, France wasn't the only location that we focused on, though, because we also did this at our owned property in Austria. So you can see here that they also decided to start growing gardens in order to offer a true farm to table experience. But when they weren't able to grow things, they actually began to source things from local goods and local produce stands as well, to make sure that it was all kept right there in the region. So what else have we done, Kelly?
Well, we've done eDocs. So this is something that is now an ongoing initiative that actually started because we noticed that our travelers would just take photos of their travel documents instead of bringing the paper ones on trip. We thought, why not create a solution that was something that our travelers were looking for. And as we dug a little bit deeper, we realized the positive impact environmentally from doing this. So as a way to say thank you to our travelers for choosing eDocs, we plant a tree on behalf of each traveler that opts for eDocs. And we also have, moving forward with the efficiency and sustainability in mind, we have electronic brochures. Because we've gone fully digital, we can now create interactive features and update content regularly. But this also has a massive impact on paper usage and shipping. So far, the feedback from our travel partners and consumers has been very positive.
So one of the next things we found as a travel trend was that it's very important to the surveyed audience that they are not using SUPs or single-use plastics. About 66% of the audience actually said that it was very important to them that they not use those. So we have made the conscious decision to eliminate SUPs from our offices and also on our trips, which means eliminating the previously provided single-use water bottles on our trips with Contiki. Contiki travelers now have the option to bring their own water bottle, or they can purchase one of these water bottles on trip. They're really cool because they're sustainably made, they're collapsible, and they come with a carbon filter so that they're able to filter water when needed on different trips, which is really cool. Our trip managers also frequently advise travelers on where to fill up, making it really, really easy for the travelers. Now, it's the small changes that seem insignificant at times, but those are things that we can all do. And it's really important for people to know that they are making a positive impact on the environment while they travel. And this is one small way that we can help support them in that endeavor. Now, I mentioned just a second ago that we have taken initiative to remove SUPs from our trips and from our offices. Well, we all try to practice what we preach here at Contiki and the Travel Corporation. And as a sales team, we're actually located remotely all over the country. But even we have pledged to walk the walk in our home lives and try to eliminate single-use plastics where we can. So one thing that I think Kelly has too is our little Contiki bottles. We drink from them as home or at home as well as on trips.
Thanks, Erin. I tried to show my Contiki bottle, but I don't think it worked with my background. But trust me, it's here. We use it all the time, and I absolutely love it. It's definitely very handy, and it feels good to use, just knowing that you're making a positive impact. Now, something interesting that we found was that 54% of our surveyed audience felt that it was important to participate in projects that help local communities while they're traveling. This is why we introduced our Make Travel Matter as a way our travelers can connect with local communities, give back, and learn more while they travel around the world. These go through a rigorous approval process because we want to be sure the activities and experiences that we're offering are truly making a difference.
Hold on one second. We're having a little technical difficulty here.
Yep. Apologies for that, folks. Just give us a moment to get that PowerPoint back up.
I'm here if you need me.
Sorry, hold on. My computer's having a little freak out moment. No worries. We'll be back in a second.
Wouldn't be a live show without some kind of hiccup, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Hold on one second. Let me get out of full view here. That might help. Give me just one second. Do we have any questions in the meantime while I'm pulling this back up?
So not yet, but I can answer some answers to what percentage of your business is made up of millennials and Gen Z travelers. So we got a little bit of a trend going on. Most said like 30%, 20%, 35%. We had one person who said 50%, which is a little bit higher. But I think more people are a little bit on the lower end. So still kind of emerging percentage of their business. So that was interesting. So that was a good question.
Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely still a very good chunk of the business. So great demographic to understand and know better.
All right, oops, 1 second.
I think we're back in business.
Almost.
Almost.
Sorry, guys. Thanks for bearing with us on this one.
To reset, it happens. No worries.
All right, are we back?
Perfect. All right. All right, and we're back. So back to making travel matter experiences. So sorry for that delay, folks. So again, we did introduce the Make Travel Matter experiences as a way that travelers can connect with local communities, give back, and learn more while they're traveling around the world. And these experiences do go through a rigorous approval process because we want to ensure that the activities and the experiences that we're offering on trip are truly making a difference. Here's a couple examples of some of our favorites. You could, when visiting Berlin, gain a new perspective on Berlin with a walking tour led by a Syrian refugee, or learn about the indigenous heritage art at the Manitoba Mukluk Storybook School in Canada. Or maybe you would like to leave your mark by planting 5 trees in a valley in Iceland. Our experiences all fall within 3 categories: people, planet, and wildlife. Those are the 3 foundational pillars of Contiki Cares and the Tread Right Foundation. So we can ensure that we're contributing to making an impact in multiple ways.
Now, one of the stats that we found really cool to include in this is that 74% of those surveyed said buying local is important to them. So because at the end of the day, who doesn't love shopping and getting something to commemorate your trip and to look at on a shelf and just remember all the great times you had? But this is a way that they can continue to buy local and support communities in doing so. One example of shopping local and supporting communities that is so incredible to me is by supporting and inspiring the women of Iraq Al-Amar, which is a women's cooperative society in Amman. So this experience not only allows consumers to buy locally, but they can feel good about it, knowing that they are supporting an initiative that allows women to partake in entrepreneurial activities such as crafting and selling goods, teaching classes, and hosting hikers who are making their way across the Jordan Trail.
I also want to share some stats we have about wildlife in our demographic. This study was published by Travel Pulse and found that in a millennial traveler survey, it showed that 65% of volunteer travelers were 18 to 25 years old. Economists also estimate that of the 971 million people who volunteer each year, most of those volunteers are millennials. Millennials are more socially conscious as far as travel groups go, and they make up 70% of volunteers across the globe, working mostly on wildlife conservation and education. South Africa, Ecuador, and Mexico are among their top 3 volunteer destinations. Knowing that this demographic cares about supporting wildlife and having opportunities to give back and travel at the same time is so important to understand. And it's been part of our philosophy at Contiki since 2012. Now, here's a few of our micro projects that we've supported, and our travelers get to experience these firsthand on Contiki trips. One was helping to restore the Mesoamerican Reef, which is the 2nd largest barrier reef in the world. Another favorite of mine is our Shark Savers experience in Ecuador and the Galapagos. Travelers really love this because it's a way to be a community scientist and help researchers track shark populations in Galapagos. And one that is always a favorite, the adorable sea turtles, where travelers can help support the Sea Turtle Conservancy organization in Costa Rica. We even adopted turtles that Contiki travelers could track once they're home. And this next one is so important, anti-poaching. Sadly, even this last weekend, it was reported that the white rhino is now functionally extinct due to poaching. We do have a few efforts being supported across the Tread Right Foundation, and of course, this will be a focus in our wildlife segment for years to come to ensure that what happened to the rhino does not happen to other species.
So you may be thinking, all right, we're talking a lot about this survey and we've heard about the Harvard study that we mentioned earlier, but do Gen Zs and millennials really care? So here are a couple social posts that we pulled off of our page at Contiki to prove that this demographic is engaged and does care about the company, or cares about companies that support sustainability. And we know how impactful video content can be, and we find that it really resonates with these demographics, especially when we talk about how to tread right. So we make sure to really try and build that in as well, because we know that those are the things in the engagement pieces that people are really sticking to and resonating with. In addition to the social elements, we have another online element that really drives home our dedication to the cause. So in celebration of World Tourism Day in 2019, all members of the TTC family of brands stood up and personally committed to sharing Tread Right's ethos as travelers, as travel providers, and as members of the travel community globally. But a pledge is only as good as the action it generates, right? So in September of 2020, 1 year after our pledge was launched, we released How We Tread Right, which is our 5-year sustainability strategy and sort of our blueprint for turning that pledge into action. So we would love for all of you to stand up with us and sign that pledge too.
And here we have set 11 goals as part of our global sustainability strategy. A few of these include achieving carbon neutrality, which our Contiki brand is set to accomplish by January 2022, increasing the use of local and organic food products by our supply chain, and also ensuring all wildlife experiences adhere to our animal welfare policy. These are just a few of our 11 key goals, but you might be wondering, how do we get there? Well, meet our climate action plan. These are 5 steps we've identified which are needed to make the 11 goals achievable.
We know that it's really important not only to the future of travel and our travelers to be sustainable, but it's one thing to know it and another thing to really start to make a plan. So we want to share with you our plan for a more sustainable future. That way we can be a partner for 18 to 35-year-olds that want to travel, but also want to make a difference while traveling. It's great to have plans, but they have to be put into action. So here are a couple of the projects that we are doing to become carbon neutral through offsetting. We're also going to show you a video in just a second, but just to walk through these, we have forest conservation in Australia now after the big wildfires. That's definitely one of the things that we wanted to focus on. Renewable energy in the United States, and then biogas energy in Thailand. So we're going to show you a quick video on our climate action plan.
Contiki is going carbon neutral. And we've developed a climate action plan to guide us, committing to learning and adapting as the world moves closer to lowering carbon for good. There are 5 steps in our plan. First, we'll continue to measure the emissions from our offices, business travel, and trips. Second, we'll continue to reduce our emissions by shifting to renewable energy in our properties and offices. Third, we're investing in nature-based carbon removal solutions. Fourth, we're purchasing carbon credits to offset trip carbon emissions. That means from 2022, all Contiki trips will be carbon neutral. We've partnered with world leaders South Pole, purchasing carbon credits to support 3 verified carbon offset projects: forest conservation in Australia, biogas energy in Thailand, and renewable energy in the USA. And the cost to offset? That's on us. Fifth, we're evolving by learning from others, forming partnerships and adapting to new technologies to help us move to a low-carbon economy. Of course, we recognise that prevention is the best medicine, so we're taking several steps to reduce the carbon footprint of our trips as well, using the most fuel-efficient Euro 6 coaches and assessing the use of biofuels and other alternatives. Our properties are powered by 100% renewable energy. We're developing more staycation trips without the long-haul travel. We're introducing new rail itineraries. We've launched a new vegan itinerary and offer vegetarian meals on all trips. We're working with our partners to increase the use of local food products. Book a carbon neutral trip now. Travel sustainably, travel consciously, travel together, travel Contiki.
Now that we've talked for the last 30 minutes rather, we want to ask you, what are some small changes you will pledge to make for a more sustainable future? So think about that for a second. Use the chat function. Think about little tiny ways that you can change your habits in your day-to-day life that can be those incremental steps that we can all take for a better future. So just think about it for a second. And while you're thinking, Kelly and I are going to share just small ways that we've done things around our day-to-day lives. So one of the things I've done recently is I am obsessed with carbonated water, love the bubbles. I was buying cases upon cases upon cases of LaCroix and Waterloo and all these different carbonated waters. So I recently invested in a soda stream to sort of cut down on the waste of the cans and the cardboard and having to purchase those things regularly. I can also turn in the used carbonation tank so that once I'm finished with it or it runs out, it can be refilled and reused. So not having to waste those and continually make new ones also. So Kelly, what about you?
Wow, that's such a great way to be able to cut down, Erin, definitely. So for me, living here in Florida, in St. Pete, so close to the beach, and seeing firsthand the impact that plastic straws can have on our environment and the marine life, that is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So that's why whether I'm at home, whether I'm on the road or at the beach, you'll always find me drinking out of a reusable cup with my bamboo straws. So bamboo actually grows to maturity in a very short amount of time. It doesn't need to be replanted or artificially irrigated or fertilized, which makes it one of the world's most renewable resources. And it's also an excellent choice for making some small changes that can lead to a larger positive impact on our environment and on the planet. That's just one thing that I'm very passionate about, but it's easy to think about those small day-to-day things and products that you use every day to ensure that you're choosing more sustainable options. All of those little choices add up to bigger impact.
Absolutely. And I want to check in with Christina real quick. Do we have any things that were typed into the chat that we can share?
Yeah, so we have no straws. I think that's a big one for a lot of people. I think we've learned in the past few years that it's just a totally unnecessary thing, right? No, trying as best you can to avoid single-use plastic, leave the car at home and walk, which I really love, especially if you are in a city where you're able to do that. I live in the suburbs, so it's a little hard for me, but I think that's such a great opportunity to just leave the car at home. Why not? And then you can enjoy the day so much more. So I thought that was really cool.
Absolutely.
This is a cute one. So Bernard said, when my children want a takeaway meal, I get them to take their own container, which is really smart. So I think having those different containers that you can bring with you, like instead of getting a cup of coffee out, like bring your cup. I have this Stojo cup. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Stojo. It's my favorite. You put it in the when you're talking about the Contiki cup that it collapses. I love that because it's so good for travel, right? You can take it anywhere. It doesn't spill. It's super easy. The silicone, good stuff. Good stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for participating in that. I'm glad you guys sort of have the wheels turning and can start to think about little things that you can do, again, just in your day-to-day life, because as Kelly mentioned, every little step counts to the bigger picture, right? So with that being said, we want to open it up to questions. We hope you guys learned a little something today. We hope we inspired you all a little bit. And hopefully you have people already in mind that Contiki will be perfect travel for within the sustainability realm. So let's open it up and see if we have any questions.
Look at you guys in gallery view. So obviously this is such a big charge that you guys are doing and incorporating across all of your itineraries. When did you see this shift, right? When did this start really, this desire for sustainable itineraries, for travel that really like has a little bit more meaning? When did you see that shift and how quickly did Contiki adapt, right?
Sure, yeah. So I think, you know, based on the timeline we have, Contiki really started dipping their toes in about 2012. and really started to, with some of those special projects that Kelly mentioned earlier, and really just starting to rethink the way that we were traveling, because we started seeing these trends, probably a decade ago, a little more at this point. So we wanted to make sure we were on the front end of starting to really incorporate those little steps piece by piece. And I think now it's so ingrained in what we do every day, especially at Contiki and TTC as a whole, because of the Tread Right Corporation that we sort of have as our sustainability philosophy or company, really. So 2012, I'd say we started dipping our toes in and really starting to make small changes, but now they're doing everything, like we said, from completely revamping our 16th century chateau and just sort of building in little things like that. And as you can tell, being carbon neutral by 2020 was a huge initiative that they tried and worked really hard on. So we're full court press going forward on just making sure that we're constantly implementing new things that can help really revamp the way we travel in general.
That's awesome. Now, I know a lot of people were asking this. Explain to us exactly what being carbon neutral is. I think a lot of us were kind of a little unsure on what exactly that entails.
Definitely. So being carbon neutral is about offsetting the carbon that that you're putting out to be able to operate your day-to-day operations. So taking efforts like some of the initiatives that we talked about today, our Make Travel Matter experiences, to our projects that we've been doing in the Galapagos and in Mexico and in Africa. So it's about taking those measures to be able to offset the carbon that you're putting out so that you can essentially neutralize it. That's a pretty simple way to explain it.
Cool. Yes, that's a very simple way and easy to understand. So thank you for that. Another question, what is a way, it's kind of a unique question, I'm not sure if Contiki can answer this, but a way to encourage travelers to maybe want to travel sustainably, maybe people who aren't really into this trend, if you will, what's a way to kind of introduce the importance of it? And is Contiki doing anything to push that along, if you will, right? And for some travelers who aren't maybe thinking so consciously.
I think a great way to sort of approach the conversation maybe is when you're talking about, or, having that qualifying conversation with your clients to see what's important to them in travel, or, what they're looking for in a travel supplier, things like that. Building in those pieces of information that you already know about the supplier. Well, we hear this is important to you. Let us explain to you why that's also helping the planet and making you a more responsible traveler, and what this is doing to help moving forward. Because I think once they start to think about it, they then see the importance of it, because we understand, like we want to clean up the climate and the environment and all of these different things. And we hear about it in everything now. I think it's so commonplace in today's society and the conversations we're having, that just relating that back to trips and why it's important and why it's really necessary for generations to come to be able to explore and enjoy all of the things that we've been able to in our lifetimes. It's an easy way to sort of build that into the conversation. And especially with Contiki, having experiences like the Make Travel Matter experiences are things that they're already going to be doing on trip. So they can explain to them, hey, this is a really awesome experience you're going to get on this trip. Now let me explain to you why it's awesome, how it's helping the planet, and how you're giving back just by traveling with a supplier that holds this initiative so high of a priority. So it's easy ways to build it into the conversation.
I love that. That is so helpful. Now, you guys obviously have eyes on all the travel destinations in the world, basically. What are doing sustainability right? Where are you seeing people going the most for those types of experiences? What are kind of those great destinations to visit right now for sustainable experiences?
So the top three would be Mexico, Africa, and I think those two are probably, I'm blanking on the last one, but those are some top trending destinations, but really anywhere. They're all over the world. There are opportunities for you to be able to give back. So even though we've seen Ecuador, sorry, that was the third one. So those are the top 3 trending places that we've seen the most initiatives for traveling for the purpose of volunteering. But we build those Make Travel Matter experiences into so many trips across all continents because there are opportunities to give back and make an impact across every inch of the globe.
Awesome, really awesome. Let me see what else I have. How many of your Contiki trips would include sustainable experiences? What is that kind of percentage for your trip specifically?
Great question. So if we're talking about trips that build in sustainability options or different ways that we give back or help offset that carbon, 100%. So all of our trips we're focusing on, obviously that carbon neutrality. So by 2022, every single trip will be carbon neutral, which is really exciting. But every single trip either has a Make Travel Matter experience or we're giving back to the people in the communities. So we're really helping sustain livelihoods and things like that, which also then help sort of create better environments. So it's really cool because if you think about it, every single one of our trips is going to give back in some way, shape, or form. So any trip they pick, they can rest assured and feel really good about the fact that they're doing something positive.
Love that. So great. Now, last question on my end, and then I have a personal one that I want to ask myself. So what is Gen Y? Tell us what Gen Y is.
That's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked because sometimes millennial is the common term that you know. So Gen Y is millennial. Gen Z is the generation that is following the millennials, the younger generation. But they're more commonly referred to as millennials. So millennials and Gen Y are the same thing.
Oh, cool. Now, okay, I think you've answered all of our attendees' questions, but I have one that I want each of you to answer. What is your favorite sustainable experience that you've experienced personally while traveling? Each of you, I'd love to hear about it.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think one of my favorites that it comes to mind right now, because it was probably my most recent experience. I went to Peru in December of 2019, which automatically is amazing because you get to see places like Machu Picchu and have some of the best food in the world. But when we were in Cusco, we actually visited this group of women who are it's a textile business basically. So these women come together and weave different things and create all these amazing scarves and sweaters and hats. And what it does is it promotes employment in the community. So all these women get to learn new skills, they get to have jobs, so they get to make money and contribute to their families and their society. And so by our trips traveling with them, we actually give back in that manner. So it's really cool because we got to meet the women, we got to watch them create some of these things. Obviously, we got to purchase some of the things. So I have little Christmas ornaments now and a scarf and all sorts of great things. And each piece you buy actually has a little card on it that has the woman's picture and tells you about her. So you're really getting to put a face with a name and see the people that businesses you're supporting. So it's kind of one of those, you get to come home with great memories, but also support somebody's livelihood and give back in a really great way.
Yeah, that's a great one. Actually, mine is sort of similar. When I was in Italy, we went to visit a woman named Marta in Peguera, Italy, and she had this ancient form of weaving art that had been in her family for generations. And at one point, it was looking like that could potentially, they didn't have the resources to be able to carry it out. And through our program with the Tread Right Foundation, we were able to help fund that and bring our travelers there and learn about this form of weaving and support that so that she was able to hire additional staff and bring them on and train them on how to do it. Because really the concern was that this ancient form of weaving art is going to die out with her. And now we've been able to facilitate that to be carried out for generations to come. So it was really such a unique, special experience to learn about that and feel that you were giving back through your experiences in traveling.
Truly. Wow, these are great. You guys exceeded my expectations. Well, I think that about wraps it on our end from questions. Is there anything else you ladies want to add, want to say, final comments before we close it out?
I just want to say thank you for attending. We had so much fun. Obviously, I think you can tell it's something that we get really excited about talking about and something that we're really pumped to see grow as we move forward. So we are so thankful that you guys came and hung out with us for a little bit today and heard all about Contiki and how we do things and sort of these up and coming trends with millennials. So hopefully it got the wheels turning in your mind of people you can reach out to and start to sell this on your own or just start to talk about sustainability and travel.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us today, for taking an interest in this topic. It's so important for today and especially for tomorrow. So definitely please keep the information we talked about top of mind. And I hope you have some great takeaways for little changes that you can make to have an impact on the planet. So thank you all so much for joining today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you guys so much. That was a terrific session. We're getting great feedback in our chat. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. I know people have appointments that are starting soon, so I think they're getting ready to move over to that. So thank you so much for your time, for your insights. This was really enlightening. So thank you again.